Say, kids, what time is it?
It's kind of like watching TV, but, in your car.
104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern. Jay Stevens in the studio for episode 112, Dark Side of the Stream. Today discussing the next 3 episodes in Unsolved Mysteries Season 3 on Netflix, which cover episode 4, 5, and 6. Each segment, we're going to go through each episode, and then we'll give a review. And then it'll be my pick, which will be the final 3 episodes from season 3, which have got arguably one of the best episodes in the series.
You were right. I think that
the last
one.
3. Oh, yeah.
I think that one we could do a whole segment.
Yeah. We will. And before we spill the beans, though, we got 3 more to get through.
No bean spilling.
No bean spilling in the lobby here. We're going to discuss, first off, the story of the guy they called Buffalo Jim in Las Vegas. He ran a auto body shop. Also was a part-time wrestling promoter. But he also kind of had a run-in with the guy who owned a strip joint at the end of the building he worked in, who owned a strip joint and also possibly had ties to the mob. Basically, one day they find Buffalo Jim in a hotel. He's dead, white powder on his face. Case closed, right?
Well, maybe.
Did you ever cross paths? When I was watching this, I'm thinking, Jay sure
seems like the
character. He's like, oh yeah, Buffalo Jim.
Seems like a character I would have crossed paths.
Wait, what? That guy's dead.
Man, I meant to call him last week.
I was wondering what happened. I hadn't seen him online in a while. Yes. So he had a couple kids, and I guess one of his daughters actually lived with them, and she was kind of the one that did the push to kind of figure out what actually happened with her dad. He had met up with the female at a hotel, and claimed that he was going to go do stuff, never came home.
Classic Jim.
But if you're a dad and you're trying to be a good dad, you're not going to just go tell your kid, even however old she is, if she's in her teens or 20s, hey, I'm going to go meet a hooker, probably do some blow, and hopefully I don't die.
Well, this is the risk we take. And
looking like
we've all been in Buffalo Jim's shoes, man.
Meeting at some seedy hotel.
Meeting a seedy hotel, meeting
North
a seedy
Vegas,
chick in a seedy hotel, doing some seedy drugs.
So the tie-in with the mob thing, I could see how basically what they allude to is that he was part responsible in getting this guy busted. And as soon as this guy got busted, Buffalo Jim died.
He came on, yeah.
And they claim that he had something to do with this. From what I gathered about Buffalo Jim, he wasn't a stupid guy, and I think he had met up with this girl. It's kind of one of those situations, and it's horrific. Like if you were doing drugs with your friends, whatever it is, how many times do you hear about the story of some kid who OD just dropped off at the steps of an ER?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll just dip out on the hotel.
They'll just leave them.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get busted with the drugs.
Which I think that there's laws in place now where it's like
you will get in trouble for that.
You won't get in trouble if you call.
Yeah. If you leave them, you will.
Yes.
If you do the right thing.
If you do the right thing, they'll go, okay, we know you were doing drugs, but you did the right thing. So
you're going to try and save a life. And most drug addicts.
So that's our PSA. If you're doing drugs with somebody and somebody's done too much drugs, you won't get in trouble for calling the ambulance.
Listen to Uncle Jay. He's right in this case. If you are doing
be responsible
drugs,
if you're doing anything.
Don't leave your friend to die.
Never.
At the very least, call the paramedics and say, hey, someone's coding here at this address and get the hell out. Ditch your drugs, go. Whatever you got to do. That's your choice. But don't just leave your friend to die. I mean, come on. Like that will be a human being. I don't care how deep into your addiction you are. That's the most garbage thing. I don't, just at least say something to someone and get the hell out of there.
So that's the number one takeaway here.
Yeah, I dude OD'd all day. He went to meet a hooker, did some blow, had a heart attack. He was overweight. He had health problems. He had addiction problems. Supposedly he was clean. But I mean, dude, he was doing cocaine. I mean, they tested it. He did cocaine.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Case closed. Then this was one of the episodes like we mentioned with the girl on the train track one last week, where I was like, they try and
share. They try and code it a little bit.
They're reaching.
They don't have to do that.
No. The next one, which again was another proof that I was wrong about 2 episodes in the series where I saw what they were going to be, and I was like, I don't really care, was awesome, including the one we're going to talk about next week. That was the other one, but the one we're going to talk about next in Dark Side of the Stream I thought was super badass. The Navajo X-File guys. And we'll talk about that next Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream episode 112. discussing the episodes 4, 5, and 6 from season 3 of Unsolved Mysteries. I know that's confusing. It was tough, hard for me to even say.
It's almost
that
like the
right.
Star Wars.
Yeah, we're just like going, what episode are we on? Is this 6 or 1?
Wacky
I
orders,
can't remember.
There they go. This one was a good one, though.
Yeah, it was called Paranormal Rangers.
Yeah.
And it talked about, and it was actually really well done because if you're familiar with Skinwalker Ranch, you know that this is a part of Navajo Nation. The name Skinwalker Ranch is part of the Navajo belief system. Skinwalkers is a thing that they believe in, is a form-changing creature. The story of how you become a Skinwalker is creepy in itself, but Skinwalker Ranch is insane because it doesn't just describe like UFOs or ghosts.
Seems like a lot of wacky stuff goes on over there. It's like
everything.
It's like a campground for paranormal things. Everybody shows up over there.
And the crazy thing about that place is that there was a paranormal investigator that owned it for years and years and years and years. And now it's owned by it's basically a real estate company that's owned it for the last, I guess, 6 years. It's kind of just like a dummy company. So you don't really know who actually is behind it. But it's essentially a real estate tycoon from Utah that owns it. It's been closed off. You can't go in there. That's that. This investigation followed these guys who were part of the Navajo Rangers, which I had no idea about, but essentially they're like the law enforcement for the Navajo
Nation. Yeah.
And in the late 80s, their captain gets a phone call or a complaint saying that someone called in a Bigfoot experience, and the cops were like, whatever, dude. And then they said they didn't take them seriously. So the captain went to these two guys who were half Navajo that weren't born on the reservation, but came back to be Rangers and said, look, none of the cops in this thing will touch this. It freaks them out. It's just one of those things in Navajo you just don't talk about. They know it exists, but they don't talk about it. So you guys are the guys to go investigate
and
this
he
stuff.
Said the best line. He's like, all of a sudden we were X-Files.
Yeah, which is awesome.
It's awesome.
But it wasn't like that's all they did. I mean, if someone was lost on a trail or caught on a mountain, they still did everything else. But if someone called in and said, hey, I see these orbs.
Yeah.
They had to go investigate.
They were checking out orbs. They were checking out ghosts. They were checking out Bigfoots and
everything.
Their stories were crazy. The things that they say they saw, but they're so like legit, like you believe them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They don't come across as somebody just talking crazy talk.
No, and they were real serious, and there was conviction in what they said. You're
like
absolutely
their
right.
Religion or their the Navajo, whatever the belief system or whatever,
That is probably the craziest part of the whole story, because if you know anything about Skinwalker Ranch, you probably heard that there's been what is described as almost a tear in our dimension. People will basically describe seeing what looks like a tear in the sky, and when you start to look at it, it almost looks like there is a day going on in the sky. So it looks like a rip in our dimension. It's been described by multiple people. The caretakers of Skinwalker Ranch have described it. The Mormon family that came in and bought it after they had it and tried to do cattle ranching, that experienced all this stuff, that brought in a lot of investigators to document it. They've all described it. But what's the craziest thing when I was watching this, because I was watching it going, this is all Skinwalker Ranch. They don't talk about it per se, but that's in the same area where this is. And I'm like, God, that's just like Skinwalker Ranch. And then one of the guys described what the Navajo believe as their origin story, which they call the emergence. And that's essentially how they describe coming to this world, is a tear in their dimension.
Wow.
And they come into ours. So the crazy thing to me is like, these people have described where they came from 2,000 years. And there are people right now that have described seeing this in that part of the world.
It's,
I don't know anything else to say, but I was like, whoa,
it's trippy for sure. I don't know how fact check this whole thing is, or like how people have investigated it, but it's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild stuff.
Extremely wild. Watch that episode and learn about the emergence. We've got one more episode to talk about in this run of episodes from Unsolved Mysteries. Dark Side of the Stream continues next on 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio for another edition of Dark Side of the Stream, episode 112, discussing episodes 4 through 6, season 3 of Unsolved Mysteries. The last one we're going to talk about today is called What Happened to Josh.
Yeah.
and tells a story about a college kid who was
seemed like a
22,
good kid,
smart kid.
straight-laced.
They described it as, I guess his girlfriend even said at one point that he was going to run for office.
Yeah,
he was going to be a lawyer.
Wanted to take that route to presidency.
Hung out with a bunch of debate kids, clean cut. One night goes to a party. Doesn't know a whole lot of people there, but he goes to play poker. Everyone says he was cool. Played poker. Walks back to his dorm. That's it. No one sees him again. Witnesses said there was a girl and a guy who claimed they passed him on the walkway bridge to get back to his dorm. After that, gone.
Nice.
They've not found his body. They've searched the lakes. They've searched the grounds. But there are a lot of crazy theories about what actually happened to this guy. First off, the first one they went after was the fact that after he was gone, someone had got on his computer, because they left his room exactly the way it was, and erased his file history.
That's foul play.
Well, yes. And they claim that it possibly could have been his roommate, who ended up having a romantic relationship with his girl that he was with at the time after the fact. But it was on camera that he interviewed, said, I had nothing to do with this. Now, we'll get back to the erasing of the computer stuff on down the line, because I think that has more to do with what actually happened to him. The second theory, which I thought was kind of bizarre, was that I guess there was this was a religious school, and there were monks on campus that a monastery, and supposedly they were involved in some nefarious things going on. And Josh had actually done some research about what they were being accused of. And they say that they took a bloodhound, and a bloodhound actually led them up to that monastery, and that he's gone. After this had happened, the monks went down. Monks. Yeah, they went down for these assaults or whatever they were into. So that was one that I was kind of like, that might have been it. Maybe. But at the same time, the other theory is probably the most logical one, unfortunately. Let's get back to the computer. So his files were wiped, and at the time, and then this was like the 90s, something like that, early 90s, you couldn't, like mid 90s, you couldn't, when you wiped a computer, when you wipe a hard drive, the hard drive's got the stuff deleted, but it's still there. You just can't see it. It just basically lets the computer know you can write over this stuff. But if you go backwards, you can actually recover it. At the time, they couldn't do it as well. Now they can. And so what they found was that old Josh was searching for men on Yahoo Personals, which that's cool, whatever, no big deal. But they think that one of these guys that he was talking with, and there was a lot, because they actually showed a picture of all these dudes that he had communication with, and they were like, if you know any of these guys, these are the guys we can't find and we don't know who they are.
Don't hate the player.
Let us know. It was like if we were doing that's my bad.
That was you.
Sorry, I had to shift. It was like if when we do the Unsolved Mysteries episode about what happened to Jay Stevens, and we have to put up a bunch of females, it'll just be like a scrolling line of
a widescreen movie,
women,
maybe 4 monitors.
Just keeps going down.
If you know any one of these girls,
it's like,
please tell them to call us for questioning.
But my point is this: I think that maybe his friend doesn't want to sell him out. You know what I mean? As to maybe he knew what he was into, and he went back and deleted all that stuff so that it didn't come out that he was gay, and after the fact, and then him being ridiculed because of it.
Did they say when it was all deleted?
It was in that week period of when he went missing, and then his dad went in and got all his stuff out.
So
anyone could have went in there and done it.
I was just curious if the kid maybe deleted it before he dipped out.
No. It would have happened because he never came back home. So it would have happened from that night through the week that his dad came in and cleared out the room. And his dad was like, someone wiped this. But anyone had access to that room. Anyone could have walked in there and did it. It wasn't just his roommate that could have done it. It could have been anybody. Could have been one of the guys he was chatting with in his dorm that went back and did it.
Could have been me. Could have been you.
Could have been me. Could have been you. I was too young, but it definitely could have been Jay. Where were you in Wisconsin? So anyway, that one was kind of an intriguing mystery. The fact that they still haven't found his body all these years later is wild. It'll be interesting to see if they actually find any of those guys or any of those dudes.
Now, if this is aired, if somebody would be like, hey, I was one of those guys. I don't know. Are you going to own that? Are you going to take that ownership?
That looks a lot like Jay Stevens.
Hey, I was one of those guys.
Yeah. That was when it was hip. All right. We'll get to our reviews of this section of Unsolved Mysteries Season 3 next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio one more time. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 112. Discussing episodes 4 through 6, season 3 of Unsolved Mysteries.
Navajo guys carried the
big time. I loved that. That
one carried the load.
What did we do? Like 3.5, 4 on the first 3?
I think so.
You like 3? I may have done 3.5.
Probably.
I think these were stronger. The one that carried the first 3 was the last one where the woman's literally still on the run.
Yeah.
The other 2 were kind of meh, but this one I thought had a stronger play, especially with the Navajo paranormal investigators, and then of course the what happened to Josh was intriguing because there could have literally been anything.
They picked up the slack for the cocaine guy.
It was a slow, definitely. That one was like, come on, dude, that dude OD'd. I'm sorry, your family,
they try to make
your family, but
more out of it.
That's come on, that's what happened. But anyway, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat crow. But I would probably say about 3.5, 4 on this.
Yeah, I'll go 3 again.
Yeah,
I'll go 3 again.
So next week,
next one's the money shot.
Yeah, it's my pick. We're gonna do the last 3 of season 3 of Unsolved Mysteries. And it's got the best episode from the season in it, which I didn't think. I was almost gonna skip it, and I'm so glad I didn't.
I started watching it and I was like, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden it just turns on you and you're like,
whoa, yeah.
It's stuck glued to the TV.
It's wild.
Goosebumps.
It's wild.
I got goosebumps now.
There's so many things about our reality and where what we think is real and not that we don't understand that. And this definitely shines a big old flashlight on that. So it's crazy. If you haven't already watched those last 3, season 3 Unsolved Mysteries, always watch us every Thursday, 9 a.m.
All 2
Facebook,
of you.
YouTube. Yeah, all 2 of you.
All 2 of you.
No, we lost one. And of course, podcast it on our 104.7 The Cave app. I'm Mike the Intern. This is Jay Stevens reminding you we watch
documentaries
movies, so you don't have to. It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.